Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Welcome to Defining Success. I'm so excited to have you here and to introduce you to our listeners and to learn all about your story and what brought you to this place of creating Threadvibe and to hear all about that. Before I read your bio, I just want to share quickly how we were introduced, if that's cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So for those who don't know, my stepdaughter, one of my stepdaughters, Caitlin, I call her Katie. Here on the East Coast, we call her Katie. I've noticed in Florida, people reference her as Caitlin.
Yep.
But Katie is a crazy athlete, super competitive. And she was really involved in CrossFit competitions for a while. Now she's like beyond with biking and cycling and wild stuff. And she's so impressive. And I'd noticed there were a couple of posts on Instagram where she was wearing these awesome t-shirts with these great messages that we will talk about soon. There's like really powerful stuff. And at first I was like, is that like David Goggins stuff she's wearing? Like, what is that? And then I saw it, which is why I asked her, I'm like, what is that? And then she told me about her friend, Chris, who started this company called Threadvibe. And the second, that's all it took. I heard that. I'm like, I have to meet this guy. And so here we are.
Yeah.
We were introduced, and he is way cooler than I even imagined when I saw these great t-shirts that he was making. So thanks for Chris for letting me share that story. And I actually, did you guys meet through CrossFit?
Yeah, we actually met at the gym is exactly where we actually met.
That's where all good stuff happens. A lot of good stuff happens at the gym.
I'll be honest with you, some of my best friends now that's exactly where I met him. I met him at the gym, which is something I never thought would happen when I joined that community.
Isn't that amazing? Did you guys ever compete together?
No. I've actually never done one of those, a CrossFit competition.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Having said that, I'm going to jump into your bio. And here we go. All right. Believe it or not. Yeah. Is this shocking? I am a father of 5 children ranging from 23 down to 7 years old. Yes, choices were made. After being on my own since high school, I jumped into the telecommunication industry where I have been ever since. It's been very good to me. Fitness wasn't a priority growing up in the Midwest, but I really was stung by the bug in 2018 and have wanted to share and help motivate others. If I can do it, anyone else absolutely can. Oh, it's so good and to the point. So, I think it's best for me to just ask you, where would you like to start? Like, how can we learn about you and how you were motivated to start this company?
I guess you kind of start like with anything else. You start at the beginning, right? So when I grew up in the Midwest. At least when I grew up in the 80s, and fitness was the furthest thing from anything in our household, right? It wasn't even a thought. So you always saw like those people who were, at my point is my age, but middle aged. There were always aches and pains and overweight, and that was just life. That's just what happened. And at the time, growing up, I grew up in the Midwest, and I moved down to Florida, which is where I'm at now. And I moved here in 2015. Right. And I still continued that process. Right. So I still woke up every day, had your meats and your cheeses, and I drank a lot of beer. Right. Because that's what you did, especially, in the Midwest in the wintertime. It gets dark early like everywhere else. It gets cold. Mm-hmm. And so that's, you hung out inside, you played card games, you drank beer, and that was life. You hung out in the garage, that's what you did. And,
right.
In 2018, I was 38 years old, and I was like, I need to make a change. So I joined the local CrossFit gym, and like, I would tell you, workout 1 rocked my world. And I learned very quickly that you have to leave your ego at the door. Because I remember the first workout was deadlifts, and these ladies in here were like, we're putting up some serious work. Like, I can lift more than them. No, I could not. I could not lift more than them. And I was like humbled, right? So, but from them, it's like, okay. Then this competition kind of sparked in me. And I started seeing immediate changes in me, right? I was obviously your store, but like in my body. And I was like, okay. So from there, I continued the progression. And I remember I had a friend come up to me, who was the same group with Caitlin, and was like, hey, you want to run a marathon? And I said, absolutely not. And mind you, the most I'd ever done at this point is a 5K. And I wouldn't even say I did it well. I did a 5K. And I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, all right, cool, sign up. So I did. And so that was in 2021. And I trained, but I didn't train well enough because I was still drinking, right? This time I was still, obviously in fitness, but I didn't give up part of that other lifestyle. And I finished that marathon. I actually ran it with Katie. And I think she'd run it like 3:30. She's a freaking savage, right? She's a savage. It was some ridiculous time that I can't even today fathom. And I finished, which is an accomplishment, right? So you never want to diminish, but it's one of those, I knew that I could do better, but I finished. But there was a lot of things through training where I would drink the night before a long run, and then sometimes you would skip them. It's an accountability thing because you're hungover, right? So it's all kind of, in life, it's all about lessons. So I finished that. And then the same crazy group of people were like, hey, let's go do a 70.3 Ironman, which isn't a full Ironman, but it's a 70.3. And once again, same thing. I went and did it. I could have done better, but went and did it. So as we kind of fast forward towards the end of 2024, I had family in town, and we went to Epcot, and I'm sure a lot of people have been to amusement parks, and that's when you see all walks of life. So I'm in Florida, so there's a lot of people where fitness is a thing, but in other areas it's not. So you're watching everyone grab scooters that they can totally walk. And I remember being on a boat ride in Epcot, and there was this overweight family on this ride. And I remember them being in the boat in front of me. And when the ride came to a stop, it took them probably felt like 10 minutes for them to get off the boat. One of the family members had to almost like roll off, and the other took like 3 people, and she was in a wheelchair, to roll her out. And like my thought at that moment is like, I wish that I could do something to inspire them to make small changes. Everyone looks at, let's say you've got somebody that's extremely overweight and they just see the finish line. Well, you don't know how to get to that finish line. So it's like, how do I show people those little bite-sized chunks? And then there's the saying, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. That's all you can do. It's just one bite. So you make these smaller goals. All right. And whether that be, I'm going to get up and I'm going to, walk 25 steps. I mean, it's just depending on the person. You have to make these achievable goals so you can start to lift them up. I think we all know when discomfort, the other side of discomfort is growth, right? So you have to take that discomfort, regardless of each person's discomfort, is something different. And setting those up. So that's when the idea of, okay, I want to start something where I can hopefully inspire, which is where Threadvibe came from. And when I really founded it, I really didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to do something to help inspire. I know there's a lot of people just like me out there, but if I can impact one person and inspire them just to better themselves in whatever it is, whether that be, quit drinking, quit smoking, just the true definition to discipline, what I'm going to do today, tomorrow, amazing to thank me for, right? So if I can do something to help create those habits and to make a better person, I'm happy. So then, I've had all of these sayings in my head. I've got shirts that are, stronger than excuses and fighting demons and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, so we're going to make some designs and put them on a shirt. And then I jumped onto TikTok. And like I just said, it's all about, being uncomfortable. Like I was not, I took years off of social media. I don't think from like 2018 to just before this, I was posted on social media. I was complete hiatus. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get in front of a camera, and for me to grow, I'm gonna start posting. So on TikTok, I've basically posted almost every day, almost everything. I took 2 days off, but pretty much every day. But in that is growth. So it's kind of showing that like you have to walk the walk before you can talk the talk. So you yourself have to step outside these areas and be uncomfortable. And if I can do it and help others show how to do it. So that's how we've gotten here. So right now, everything's been completely organic as to how we're going to go about this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what 2026 can bring, and then how we can help motivate others to better themselves.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so much there. Thank you for sharing the story of how you got here. It's really, there's so much. So ready to dig in?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, let's dig in. Okay. I'm gonna go in order, which is talk about discipline. Takes discipline for me. So I'm gonna go in order. My first question is a pretty generic one. Where in the Midwest did you grow up?
I grew up in the called Chicagoland, and I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and I've literally bounced from far northern Chicago to the far southern parts of Chicago, and also outside of St. Louis. I've kind of bounced all around Illinois.
And so did you finish high school there?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Okay. And so when you finished high school, you stayed there, right? Because you didn't get to Florida until
2015. Yeah. So literally my last day of high school, I interviewed it was the local cable company. And so when I talk about being on my own, I actually stayed with a friend's mother. And so some of her friends kind of saw that I was, going to school, going to work every day after school, and put in the work. So he kind of took me under his wings, said, "Hey, come interview," and he really gave me that shot. So I would not be here in front of you if you didn't have this key mentor like in place, kind of help me propel you, because we all have these key moments in life where you meet that one person, it completely changes the trajectory, and you would never know it when you meet this person. Yeah. So from my last day of high school up north, I went to start in the local cable company, and I was in that cable company from 1999, which I know I'm aging myself, to 2013. So I was there for a good stretch of time.
And it's beautiful that you are sort of taking a moment to recognize that this guy gave you this opportunity. But what I always love about these moments is like, yes, he gave you the opportunity, but you took it, like you grabbed it. So clearly, you say you were staying with a friend's mom. Yeah. So it sounds like home life must have been difficult if you're, finding somewhere else to stay. So what is that about you? Like, there's clearly a part of you that is very self-motivated. Because if you're straight out of high school and jumping into a job, not everybody says that.
That time I knew for like survival, right? Like I knew that working at a gas station wasn't going to support me. And perfectly honest, I wanted to go to school, but I didn't know how to get into college at that time. Like I didn't know. And at that time, they didn't really have the same resources they have today. There wasn't Google where you could go search on how to get there. So my avenue was, I knew that I had to go work. And this was a great opportunity. I knew how to work. That's something that I had done from, my entire high school career, from the time that I could drive, that I was working. So, and then from there, it's just that spark, right? It's once again, that constant discomfort. Like there's a lot of times that people just are okay with being comfortable. And I knew that there was always better out there, right? It's kind of.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you share that, because you said, there wasn't Google, right? Which is a really good point. Like then, you had the options that were right in front of you, right? It was like, I'm either going to get a job or I'm not. And if I don't get a job, well, then this is that, that's not great, right? So it's like, whereas now it's almost, I know this is going to seem kind of obvious, but I think it's like really important to discuss this, or at least like point it out. Like now you could have been sitting there and Googled, what do I do in this situation, blah, blah, blah. And you get all of these options. And it's almost like, which is actually probably worse, because now you can find comfort in the fact that you're not sure what to do, because you can, come up with all these different ideas and options, and you can get stuck in that vortex of like indecision because there's too much out there. Yeah. So, and the reason why I'm just think it's so great, and thank you for sharing this, is because it's like a reminder for someone like yourself who is doing, I would like to call it God's work, but doing the good work, we'll say, of like kind of putting the blinders on, right? Like just helping a person see, like just cut out the noise, look straight ahead. Here's your options, A or B, healthy or unhealthy.
That's it.
right? Where do you
It's
want to
life
be?
isn't black and white. That's a pretty black and white thing. And you did mention something that just kind of triggered something, right? So even if I look at, my kids, they've been around now the internet and all those things. And sometimes they even go into a gas station and picking out something to drink, they're indecisive. No, let's make a decision. We can work with it. We're going to move on. And it's the same thing with day-to-day life. I'm going to make the best decision I can today with the information that I have in front of me as I'm going to do. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to make it now. And it may not be the right decision, but I made the best decision that I could. And sometimes you get more information in 3 minutes from now, and it's like, oh, well, okay. But now we can pivot.
Right.
But I'm going to make this, and I'm going to go ahead, and this is what we're going to do. So.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like super powerful to think of you as a high school graduate, just kind of like going, okay, this is the move I'm going to make. I'm going to just work, get this job. And then obviously you were a great employee. If you stayed in that job until 2013. Yeah. Amazing. And so then, and also, as we're getting closer to Florida, I do love this idea, this thought that you created, this visual for me of like you keeping a Midwest life, and bringing it to Florida.
I did. I did. I mean,
I don't care how warm it is outside. I don't care.
I was a smoker. I was a drinker. Like I did, it was completely normal. Like that's what life was. But I will say, I always had like this little itch for fitness, right? So I'd go on like bike rides. I would do 5K. I mean, I would do those things, but like the true bug wasn't there. So I've always had this in me, but it wasn't until I really got here, obviously kicked smoking, and joined the gym. And that's when I really met the community. And it's like, man, I want to replicate that community and really help bring people up.
Yeah, so that's my next question. Well, first off, so 2013, what happened between 2013 and 2015? So what got you?
So 2013, so I've had, I've gotten married, and I was just got through a divorce, and I had primary custody of my kids. And at that time, I lived in the Chicagoland area. And all of my family had migrated to St. Louis. So I was like, I want to go be by family. That's what I'm going to do. So, I found a job and I moved to St. Louis, and I spent, 1 year there. And it's a great city, but it was not the city for me because I didn't think that you could drink any more than Chicago did until I went to St. Louis. And
sorry.
Oh no, You're good. They're good. They're good.
Just to be clear, because I don't want to seem like I'm being callous, we're laughing because it's in hindsight, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, so like the job situation had changed there for me. So, I actually, for that short year, I actually completely changed industries. I kind of went with what I could find. And I went from a stable corporation, been there since 2013. And I worked at a UP train yard, and we serviced all of the trucks coming in and out of there. What I didn't understand, because I didn't know I needed to know, life is about lessons, is that there was a contract work. And at that yard, our contract was about to be up. So I moved down there. And at the time the contract was up, so I had to, so it was like, oh, well, you're not working anymore. So I was like, well, we're going to go back to what we know. So I ended up climbing towers for a little bit. So kind of back into the industry, which is kind of what got me to where I am today. And then from there, we learned that, I had my children, and the work is local until it's not. And then you start traveling the country. I love my kids. So that didn't work.
Right. And you have did you have all 5 kids?
No. So we got some younger ones. I had 3.
Yeah. Right.
At that time. And then just as that was ending, I actually had an old people leader from my original cable days reach out to me in Florida and said, hey, I've got something for you. And it's in Florida. And I was like, well, you got my attention. And then from there, like everything worked out. So when I came down, I subleased he had a furnished condo. in Jupiter, Florida. And I knew nothing of Jupiter, Florida, other than what the pictures told me. And I knew I went to research, the schools were good. So my sister drove my car down with my children. I rode my motorcycle down, and whatever fit in the car is what came. That was it.
Amazing. Wow. How old were your kids at this point?
Man, so this was 10 years ago now. So 13 and 9.
13, yeah. Wow.
Yep.
And did your sister did she stay? Did she end up?
She stayed for like a week and then took off. Went back up north.
Wow. So, okay. Just like, what a shift for you. I mean, going from Chicagoland to St. Louis to now Jupiter, Florida. Now, just like for the listeners, Jupiter, Florida is a very like health conscious area of Florida. When you say like there's a lot of fitness around there, there's a lot of people on bikes and running and lots of fitness studios. It's very, I think it's also a lot of East Coasters too there. So it's got a very kind of like nice, just mixture of all different sorts of, it's a very, that's the other thing too. A lot of our listeners may equate Florida with like, who aren't from Florida may equate Florida with like older retirement. Jupiter's not. Jupiter's very young families. So I can imagine you got there and it was like, oh, like this is a different lifestyle. Which leads me to ask you, like, you just, when you were telling your story of how you got to Threadvibe, you just go, okay. And then one day, you know, I just went to the gym. I went to CrossFit. Like, how did you, what was that? What got you to go?
So the gym I chose, I saw all the bumper stickers and it was like people, first of all, and I've seen the bumper stickers for a while, I was like people like lifting tires. I'm like, what is this place? So what am I looking at? So I Googled it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess we'll give this one a shot. And, but once again, it was too many, you know, long nights, waking up completely sore. And it's like out of shape, couldn't touch your toes. I mean, this is simple things, out of breath, climbing stairs. And it's like, I knew at that time that it was kind of like that fork in the road in your mind. And I knew that I could go right or go left. And if I keep down the path that I'm going, it's only going to get worse, right? At that time, I was probably 235 pounds, 240 pounds. And I knew that it wasn't going to get any better. Like
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize you had that much weight on you at that point. Wow.
Yep.
Complete transformation.
A little bit.
Whew. Okay.
And
sorry.
No, you're good. So from there, I knew it wasn't going to get any better. And I was like, well, I need to do something. So I just said, I'm gonna show up on Monday. This was whatever day of week it was now, I don't remember. I showed up for class on Monday, and then that was it. I was there basically 6 days a week for years.
So thanks, because I obviously, like, I love talking about what it is that motivates people to do things, but especially when it comes to taking care of oneself, you know, because you can go, to your point, your whole lifetime not seeing life a certain way, and then all of a sudden it clicks. And I'm wondering, what were the elements that clicked with you, if you can recall? I know this was a while ago, but I think it will also speak to the company that you're running now and sort of some of the parallels and how you connect with people. What were some of the things that made you go back?
I think I've always, and I like to be able to kind of step outside of, I don't want to say step outside yourself, but do look in, like, what do other people see? And I remember seeing photos, or I remember actually, now that we're thinking about it, it's like walking out of Publix, which is a local grocery store, and seeing like your reflection in the glass. I'm like, oh man, who's that guy? He's huge. Oh, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how I want to be seen. I don't want, this isn't what I want to leave the world with. Right? So that was the change.
Yeah. So once that first time you went in to CrossFit, and then you say you just kept going. Yep. What is it that got you to keep going though, besides just wanting change?
I am such a competitive person in those classes, like once you remember first going, like they're talking, pick a movement, and I would just kind of watch the class. Okay, they're doing this. This is what I'm going to do, right? Because it's sometimes like you kind of get lost in it, and it was good because CrossFit was good, and the gym I went to they were very good because they did make sure your form was good. They did stop you if you were going to hurt yourself, which I know not every gym, from my understanding, was that way. So they did stop and they did correct me. And once I got the movements down, now it's like, okay, now how good can I do it? And then like, okay, so now we're in the class, and now I make these like individual, competitors. They have no idea they're competing against me. They don't know, but I know. Right. Yeah. So then it's like, okay, so now we're going to do better. And you kind of, but then what kept me there was these bonds that you make and these friendships that you make with all the people there. And it's like, you are who you hang around. So before, my friends, like the time, my best friends, we met at a pool drinking beer. That's how we met. We were friends for years. We had nothing else in common in life other than we all drank beer. So then you start to switch your friend group, and now you're around positive thinking. I remember thinking, I have never met a group of such positive people with a yes, the F you can attitude. There was nothing that they weren't going to do. And I loved that mindset, that positivity.
Yeah.
And it was healthy. And I felt good. Yeah. And it scratched that competitive itch. And it was kind of cool, like, okay, how much weight can I put up? And then seeing yourself get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better each time you showed up. And I still, now, I moved, and I don't necessarily go to a CrossFit gym, but I put a gym in my garage. So now I have everything except for a rope climb. Everything else I have.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Congrats on making this lifestyle change. It's obviously like been an eye-opening, just a whole all immersive experience for you. And like, I love to hear that it was the people and, the community, right? It's like, that's what it always seems to come down to is community. And, you talk about how it's interesting how you shared that, you see your reflection in a Publix, and it's like, oh, this isn't how I want to be seen. And then hearing you talk about how you changed your friend group, even changed, right? Yep. And that could happen overnight or it happens over time. But like, you have those moments too, I'm sure, where you're hanging around with people drinking beers, and you're like, it's kind of a similar moment to seeing yourself in Publix, where it's like, I don't know that this is what I want, right? Like, I don't know that this is, no judgment against these people that you're hanging with, but it's more the activity, right? Yeah. And so, which of course you had mentioned, you had, I think, was it last January you did a dry January?
Yeah, so January of this year. January of this year.
Of this, right? So 2025. Yeah. So, and did you stick to it?
Haven't stopped.
And did you do it by yourself? Was it with friends?
So it really just started with myself and my much better half, and it was like, okay, well, we drank, I think, every day the previous December. I mean, like every day. And it's kind of like, we need to take a step back. And, but then I felt so good. So I just kept going. And in February, I had a golf trip, and I was like, I'm for sure going to break on this golf trip. We're going with a bunch of buddies out of town. Like, I'm going to drink for sure. And at that time I hadn't committed that I was just going to stop drinking. And I got there, and night one, I was like, oh, I'm just going to drink some near beer. And they got just annihilated. And I remember hearing them up in the middle of the night, getting sick. And I was up bright and early at the gym, feeling great. I'm like, I'm okay. So then I just kind of kept it going. And then I dove right into a work trip. And same thing, typically on work trips, I would just drink all night with your friends at work. And that's what you did. You sat around and you drank. And I didn't. Yeah. I've been drinking the non-alcoholic beers. Like, for me, I like the taste of beer. So for me, that scratches that itch, right? So I would just drink that if I was out with them. But once again, wake up in the morning, go for a walk, go to the gym, and you feel so clear. So it's like, in my mind, and it's such a weird thing. And most people are probably like, but for me, there's nothing better than going to bed sober, knowing that you're going to wake up feeling good. And like the sheets to me feel crisp and cold and clean when I'm going to bed sober, knowing that I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And And I guess unless you drink a lot, you probably don't understand that. But like to me, I still almost a year in. It's one of those biggest things that I appreciate.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for opening up and sharing that, because I just had a similar thing. I don't drink. I did drink when I was younger a little bit. Never a big drinker. I wasn't like a daily drinker. But I remember at some point in my 30s, I couldn't even tell you exactly when. I'd have to really think, which we don't have time for right now. But sometime in my 30s, I was like, I don't feel good when I drink. Like, to your point, even as somebody who wasn't a big drinker, I'd go to bed feeling, I actually wouldn't really feel going to bed. Like, it was just like, I would just go to bed. And then, this would be maybe if I had like a glass of wine, right? It wasn't like, it wasn't a big thing. But I would wake up in the morning not feeling great. Like, there was like a physiological effect. It was not feeling right. And so I just stopped, because I'm like, why am I doing this if it's not adding to my life?
Yeah, I mean, there was times where like day drinking was like a highlight. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go on Saturday and we're gonna day drink. And it's like, now it's like, I don't want to sit around just a bar or a patio, just sit there all day and just drink. Like, we're gonna go be productive. Like, it's like, I feel like I have to earn rest. Like, even this past weekend, we went and we did the Palm Beach Marathon. So we did the marathon in the morning and then came home, did the whole recovery thing, put boots on, went for a little bike ride, and then went ran errands. And even then, like, before I could sit down that night, I was like, I don't know if I've earned it yet. And I don't know, that's probably another flip side that probably isn't good for you either. But it's like, for me to be able to sit down and rest, I feel like I need to earn that luxury to be able to sit down.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. I totally get that. Like, I love that you just shared that, because I didn't even realize that I do that every day. I do that, like, that same, is it the moment yet that I can relax? Like, have we reached that moment yet? Like, my husband always laughs at me because things have to be in order before I get into that mode. And it's so funny. I'd never really thought of it.
Like, I've got to be set up for tomorrow. Like, everything, because I want to, like,
everything's got to be,
just like with my day, I make sure that everything, like, I'll sit down and I'll write everything down for when I need to tomorrow, that when I sit down for work, we're ready to go. Like, there's no guessing. We're ready to go. And the same thing. So I'm going to set myself up as much as I can the night before. Like, we are good. Everything's set.
But like, what's so great about this, and I think why it's so important to share your story and why I'm so excited for people to hear it, is because it's a reminder. It's just like, prioritizing yourself, taking care of your life, like doing things that just benefit you and the people around. And obviously, if you're taking care of yourself, your people around you will feel that. I'm sure that we haven't really spoken about it, but I'm sure that your kids have seen a different version of you.
Absolutely. And so starting in right around, probably just after the pandemic, I started taking my daughter, who's now 19, to the gym with me. And at the time, she wasn't the most confident girl. Like, she was in middle school, I believe. And I was like, well, let's see how you do. And then she still goes to the gym to this day. She's a little savage. She's as confident as you get. So you can start to see those changes in them, right? But once again, it's not for everyone, right? I've got another son who I took one time, and I was like, hey, how was your first time at the gym? He's like, oh, you mean my last time? So it's like finding things, like, listen, it doesn't, just like when you have kids or you have to do a sport. I don't care what sport you do. Find something you connect with, and that's what you do. Same thing with adults. Just because this wasn't for him, that doesn't mean that there's not something out that you're going to enjoy. If you start exercising and you're enjoying what you're doing, I mean, whether it be, walking, whether that be going for a hike, whether it be tennis, like, go out and move. It doesn't matter what it is. Find that one thing that you enjoy, because then you're going to keep doing it, because then it's not work. It's not work.
Yeah. There's a great book that you've probably heard of called Atomic Habits.
Oh, I love that book. And James Clear.
Great book. Yes. And he was just recently on, not Rogan, Diary of a CEO. It's a great podcast. I'll share it with you after this, but excellent interview. And he talks exactly what you're kind of getting at is that, like, you know, sort of breaking it down. One thing I loved when you and I spoke before this was you had talked about how, like, hey, if it's just getting up and walking to the mailbox, awesome,
Good.
right? Like, yeah. And he kind of talks about that too, in the sense that, like, maybe that's the one thing you do every day. You get up and you walk to the mailbox,
celebrate it.
right? And if you make that a habit, right, and then you can build upon that habit.
And it's simplicity. He said, and I remember him saying in the book, you know, one push-up is better than no push-ups. Where, you know, one push-up doesn't sound like a lot, but I don't even care how you do that push-up. Do it off your knees. Do it with some assistance, right? Because if you don't do them on a regular basis, they're very difficult, right? And you're going to be very sore. So you're going just doing that one, and then start to stack that. It's
because I think what we're getting into too, and I know he talks about this, but, you know, we're also in this space talking about, like, how really it's about breaking through the psychology, the thoughts in your head that aren't even allowing you to do that one push-up. Because you and I both know, and anyone listening to this, I'm sure can relate, the amount of thoughts that can stop you from doing something. If you just, like, well, let's just do one and see where that goes. You've now broken through those thoughts, right? It's a really interesting psychology, because it's so simple to break through, and yet it's also
but we
so
make
difficult.
Excuses as to why we can't, and we start listening and believing to those excuses.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty. So I've been on either side of this coin. I've been 100% on either side. So I completely understand those excuses and those lies that you tell yourself. So just even when you start running or doing longer distances, even if you set in your mind, and I'm pretty sure James Clear mentioned this. I don't remember, but I believe he did. But if you set a target, right? So if I'm running and I see a light pole, okay, I'll stop after that light pole. But then you see the next light pole.
Yes.
For me now, I do it like, because sometimes when I'm running and you think that you're further than you are, I make a point to not look at my watch, because then you look at your watch. Even now today, it's like, oh, I'm this far, still got this far to go. Or well, okay, I'm not going to look at my watch until I pass those palm trees. Then I'll look at it. You have to, like, even for me, like, you still have to, like, do these things to stop yourself from, right? So you still set these points for yourself that I'm going to do.
Oh my God, it's so true. That's why that's why running is life, right? It's so true, because if you live your life that way, right? If I do this, I'll do the next thing, and if I can get it that far, right? And it's like, it is very, it is really interesting to hear you share. You know both sides of this, that what we're talking about, because that this sort of reminded me of was how you talked about getting uncomfortable. And clearly, like, it's so interesting to hear you spent so much of your life comfortable, right? Because you were just, like, hanging with friends, as you put it, the Midwest lifestyle, which we both know, just to be clear, obviously there are healthy people in the Midwest.
100% there are. Yeah.
It's just, we're just
it wasn't my crowd. How's that? It wasn't the crowd that I was around.
Exactly. And, but it also is very easy. That is one thing that is very true, and something that has to be recognized, that in Florida, it does stay light most of the day, like longer in most of the seasons. You know, East Coast and Midwest, it's hard. It gets dark 4:30, days over. It can be hard to be motivated. So anyway, I went on a sidetrack there, sorry. But going back to you and this, you were comfortable in that lifestyle, but then clearly that moment came to you where it's like, is this comfort, like, I don't want to be so dramatic, but is it killing me? Like, is this not a lifestyle? And
it made me really think that, like, so many people do get comfortable, right? Let's break it down, right? So we get caught in our routines, and our routines become comfortable. We don't want to step outside that comfort, where I'm going to wake up at this time to go to work. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to get the kids ready for school. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to commute home. I'm going to get the kids. We're going to start dinner. We're going to do homework. And then now I'm going to go watch TV just to decompress for a few minutes, get them to bed. I'm going to go to bed, rinse and repeat. That's a busy day. Let's be very clear. That's a very busy day. And that's a day that I think a lot of people have. Yes. But then all of a sudden that becomes routine and comfortable. And I know for me, it's like, I knew that there was there's more. Like it's like, this isn't all life has to offer. There's absolutely there's no way we're put here to wake up and just grind with nothing really at the end other than a retirement that I probably won't be able to actually enjoy because I can't move anymore. Right? Like that's because you haven't taken care of yourself. And
right. Wow.
I would say it's up until recently that I started seeing, some older members of the gym, and that it's like, oh wow, you're like 70 plus and you're 80 and you're still freaking crushing. Why? Because they're out there moving the body. That's what it is. And it's like, oh, okay, there is hope, right? I remember my friends used to call, when you are in your late 70s and 80s and beyond, the sloppy years. I don't think it has to be. I don't think it has to be at all. But it's not, just when you're a child, and then you always see that your elders, they don't really do anything. They take naps and they sit around watching TV, and they may play golf, but that's about it. I love golf, so that's nothing to knock. But that's really that's what life was. And like there's got to be more than that. Yeah,
totally. Right. Like this idea of retirement, meaning like exactly what you just described. I talk about this often with my husband. It's like, no, like that's something that like was a commercial on TV. I don't know what that is, but like, really what I'm hearing in what you're saying, and I love it. It's really speaking to me. It's like this idea of like getting older should give you what it is as you get older, you should have the health and the sort of confidence to choose how you want to live your life. Right. That's really our best case scenario. And it's interesting, because I just recently spoke with somebody who's very involved in working with disabled veterans and help and adaptive athletes. And, talk about perspective, right? Like these are people who do not have limbs and yet are figuring it out. And they're finding a way to be able to be athletes, to be able to be in the world, to function. And, it's just, it's like, you got it all. Like, let's like make the most of this. So, which is what is really why I'm really excited to hear about this, your company and your vision for it. And, wanting to hear even more about how that moment when you saw that family, which I can imagine obviously really jarred you because you just want to help these people, right? Just want to help. How that sort of, your next step was to start a company. Like, okay, let's hear about it. Like, let's hear about how you tell us everything.
So once again, I saw that couple, that family struggling to even get off a ride at an amusement park. And I don't think as children, anyone's going to say, when I grow up, this is how I want to be. Like, I don't think that's in anyone's cards ever. I don't care who you are. So I wanted to find a way. And the comment, even walking out of that ride, is like, I want to find a way to reach people and to see what I can do to motivate them. And at that moment, I didn't know what it was. So I started Threadvibe, and it started with, okay, so now we're going to go on TikTok and just be my normal inspirational self. Like all my friends call me the little golden retriever, right? Because it's always like glass half full. So let's start there. But once again, I was not comfortable being on camera. So if you go to my TikTok account, then you go all the way back to the beginning. Like it was like me in my truck, like just stumbling, right? Because it's your comfort zone, but past there is growth. And the more that I did it, the more that it was. So I was like, okay, so even there, it's like, I need to get comfortable in front of the camera. So I have my friends at Modern Juice, and they have a 3-day juice cleanse. And I was like, I'm going to document this juice cleanse. I'm going to get in front of the camera.
Awesome.
Because now I have a topic that I can talk about. And I had the flavors and everything that I was going to do. And I was just kind of my little documentary that I posted. But by the end of this 3 days, and all of the drinks a day, right? There's basically a drink every 2 hours. By the time it was done, I was so comfortable. So, okay, so now we can just start talking about like normal life. So I was running every day. So I was basically out there just talking about positivity and change and everything else that we can do. and then during my runs. And it was actually funny because I live in Florida in the summertime and it's hot. So it's typically running with my shirt off. And so there's a lot of jokes that I was, starting an apparel company, but I'm not wearing any clothes. And they're not wrong. But to me, it wasn't about just like selling shirts, right? Like that's not
right.
I want to help people. And the shirts is a nice byproduct, and putting those messages on the shirt and getting the word out there, right? It's kind of always something that you kind of always wanted to do, right? It's always, you want to go out there and do good and help people. So long story short, that's kind of how I got where I was. And it was very organic, like how I ended up to where I am. And I'm really excited to see what tomorrow brings. And, obviously we've got thoughts and ideas of what we're going to do, right? Because I'm a guy and I wear black and white. So even like comments were like, you need to add some color, bud. I'm like, you had some, because that's what I wear.
You're like, okay, camouflage. It's like, no, dude.
I literally go. So we added a red shirt and we added an army green shirt, and so we're gonna add more. But it was like, oh, you're probably right. Not everyone wears black like a psychopath. Understood. Got it.
I think it's so great. So because it's like, okay? So TikTok. And first off, did your kids help you with that at all? Like, did they give you any constructive criticism, any feedback?
No. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like my daughter was always out there like dancing for TikTok, and I would never be in her videos. Like I was the most like, get me out of here, awkward. I've probably been in a handful of them, and just as awkward as can be. Like this is not where I belong. And now, but I gotta give TikTok some credit, and it's like this positive slice of the world that I've kind of carved out for myself, where everybody on there does nothing but motivate each other, pick each other up, no garbage comments, 100% motivating. And I've never, ever been in such a community that just picks you up. And it's like, wow.
That you've created. So, I mean, shout out. That's amazing. And this is the way, man. Like we can all talk about what's happening in the world, and there's such a divide, and there's tons of conversations that could be had about that. But let's just do positive stuff. Let's just be positive, right?
And,
let's just create.
And I love that we never talk about that. Listen, you can have we've talked about this before. Good. You have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, and that's fine. Cool, right? Like.
And totally. Okay, great. That's good. Let's be healthy. Let's go.
Like, I think that's one common bond that we have. And it's, we have run into people who, have neurological issues where they have a hard time moving and walking. So we celebrate everything that they can do, no different than I have, one friend that literally created her own 100-mile ultra race that you could track. You celebrate both, right? Both are amazing achievements. And so it's not how much you do, it's like how you do it.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, when I started running later, I didn't start running until a few years ago. I don't know, sometime before COVID I started, but it was something I'd always told myself I couldn't do. I'm not a runner. It hurts my knees, which was total BS. Like I made that up. Like what? Yep. Okay. But when I did, I was very lucky to come across these running coaches. Amber and Lindsay are their names. They're Manhattan based, and I'm so grateful to them because they were like, I was so critical of myself, right? I'm not fast. I'm not this. They're like, put all the numbers away. Just put it all away.
It doesn't matter.
And it was that was so inspiring and really a change. It changed the way I looked at myself and my own health in a way that I'm so grateful to them for. And you're doing the same for people because we are all of that talk that gets us to stop doing something. It's just judgment. It's on ourselves.
And even you do, and it's just hurting it here in the community. And I'll give you just an example, even this weekend, right? So we did the Palm Beach Marathon, and they had it was half marathon and marathon, and they had the walkers for the half marathon. And I remember passing, it was towards the end, it was the last mile, and in this, I just passed some walkers, and this guy passed me, he flew past me, like good for him. And he was kind of like, They're just walking it. Yeah, good for them. They're out there.
Right.
They're moving. They're taking steps forward. They're doing more than someone who, didn't get out of bed, right? Like, or hasn't, or just hasn't left the couch. So we're not going to criticize them. We're going to celebrate them. That's what we do. And it's like, that's like that right there is like, no, we're in our own community. We have to like see those, like it's, you see those people at the gym and it's like, let me help you, right? You may not know what to do. Let me show you. Let me show you what to do. Because if I help you, you're going to want to come back. And then if you do come back, then you may want to pay that forward. And then it just becomes this culture that we should have. We shouldn't knock each other down. That should never be a thought, ever.
Totally. And like, what I love too is this is coming from someone who's really competitive, right? So you are a highly competitive person. You are driven to win. I mean, I say that knowing that there's different versions of winning. I get that.
It's all relative.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But even with, so the first CrossFit competition that I was a vendor at, can I say the other vendor's name that I talked to in a positive light?
Yeah, of course.
So the vendor across from me was Thick Boy, and their setup was fantastic. And so after a few hours went by, I kind of went over and I talked to the gentleman, Mark, and he was one of the owners, and what an amazing individual. Like, talk about taking me under his wing, introduced me to gym owners, even to the point where we had like conversations after the fact with me. Here's who I use for this. Here's who I use for that. Here's who you can use for this. Oh, here's some ideas for you. If you want, we can have weekly conversations. Like, what a community that where we live, where it's, we can feed off each other and help each other out. This is exactly the world that we want to live in. So I can't give him enough credit. So where it's like you're completely taken aback that people are going to take you under the wing. And once again, let me help you and I'm not big on TikTok, right? I've got like 2,000 followers in the grand scheme of things. That's nothing, but I've had, even brands are just starting out reach out to me, but let me help you. I'm going to tell you everything that I know now, right? Because someone was nice enough to do this for me, to set this motion. Let me help you out. Let me help you succeed, right? Because if we all succeed, everyone's just better in the long run. We're all in there for the same goal. Like,
absolutely, totally. It's so good. And like, there's also, what I love about this is just true. I'm going to use the cliche word that gets overused, but this is true entrepreneurship. It really is. Like, you are out here, you've got your day job. We haven't even mentioned that. You're still working. Yeah. Like, you're still working, right? So it's like people sometimes I think an entrepreneur has to give up everything and go out on a limb, and no, you can still, you've got your day job that keeps you stability, right? But it allows you the ability to start this company and to change the world in a way that's meaningful to you, and you're creating a community. And I'm very intrigued because of your thoughtful responses to this point. You clearly have a very beautiful perspective on sort of human nature. And so I'm really curious, Chris, even more so than before we started this call or this conversation. How do you, Chris, define success?
And once again, just like you said, everything's relative, right? So my success isn't necessarily your success, right? So I think success can be celebrated in just those little accomplishments. You start to stack those little things. Everyone's talking about, oh, I'm going to get success when I get this promotion, or when I make this much money in life. Like, for me, success is stepping outside of my comfort zone and finding growth on the other side. Building those small blocks to my foundation and continuing to do so. In my mind, that's what the success is. Everything else is going to fall into place. If you start working on your foundation, in my mind, everything else is going to happen. But you have to put in the work, right? You have to be consistent, and you have to be disciplined. You just have to continue to show up and make those. I think the phrase is 1% better every day. I think that's truly it. I think that's really where it starts. Success is at the foundation and continuing to build your foundation. Because if your house is sturdy, it's not going to fall.
Good stuff. Yeah. Wow. That's really good. Success is in the foundation, man. That's really good. Wow. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here, for sharing your wisdom, and for doing all the good work that you're doing. And I love, so these t-shirts, where do we find them? How are we buying these? What's your process?
So you got threadvibeclothing.com is my website. Also, I'm on Instagram, which is thread_vibe_clothing, which will lead you to my website. Please obviously give me a follow. And we're at Threadvibe Clothing, or at Threadvibe90, I think is what it is on TikTok. So we go through the TikTok shop and or through the website to purchase the clothes or take a look.
Awesome. And you have a whole community around this that's building, right?
And I love it.
You've got, it sounds like TikTok's your most active platform.
Yeah. I'm on there pretty much daily.
Amazing. All right. So, Chris, I am so grateful to you for doing this. I am so into what you're doing and like really excited to get the vibe out there, get the word out there.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you for just jumping in and doing this. And I can't wait to get my t-shirts and start wearing them around New York and getting Threadvibe over here too.
Thank you.
It's so good. Congratulations
Appreciate
on being a really cool person.
Likewise. Very much likewise. It's honestly, it's an honor to even be here talking to you.
Now we're all in this, man. This is such good stuff. Let's make the world what it is, like just a great place with good people doing good things. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.